want to learn how to manage your own investments? Are you ready to stop paying investment management fees and start building wealth? The DIY Investing Podcast is dedicated to providing you with the knowledge, skills, and resources you need to be a better investor. Learn how to make investments through the use of fundamental analysis, mental models, and business management insights. Now, here's your host, value investing expert, Trey Henninger.
Hello and welcome to episode 60 of the DIY Investing Podcast. My name is Trey Henninger and I'm your host. In today's episode, I want to discuss your buying process. We are going to discuss what you do when you find opportunities and what you're willing to do to make those opportunities happen. Before I get started, I want to make a short request. If you haven't already, please consider giving this podcast a 5-star rating and review. You can rate this podcast in your podcast player, whether it's Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or any of other podcast players. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe this video for more great investing content. Thank you for your support. So, my goal for this podcast is to make it relatively short compared to some of my others, and that's because I want to focus in on one key question. What do you do when you've identified a great opportunity? And this is an opportunity that meets all of your requirements. It's high quality, it's cheap, it's easy to understand, it fits within your circle of competence. It's also a durable business, it's predictable, you're confident and convicted that you're going to achieve your required return if you could simply purchase this stock or this bond or whatever it is, this real estate deal. When you have an opportunity that meets all of your requirements, what do? Do you buy it? Now, hopefully the answer would be yes. But let's assume for a second that it's hard. What if you can't easily make the purchase? What if for a stock or bond, your current broker won't let you buy it? Maybe it's international, maybe it's not on the exchanges they offer. But either way, it's more difficult than the most of your portfolio for you to purchase. Is it time to give up and move on? My answer is no. And the reason I have this answer is that it's sometimes harder to find new opportunities that meet all of your requirements than it is to go through some extra work, go the extra mile, and find a way to make your purchase happen. And this is really the key. You need to be willing to go the extra mile for your investments. Stock investing in particular is one of the most passive forms of income that you can have. Once you purchase a stock investment, you own all the cash flows for that company in the pro rata portion of your shareholdings. And you can hold that for the rest of your life, pass it down to your children, and no one can take away your stock that you've made a purchase. Once you've purchased an investment, it is passive income, very much unlike other forms of investment. If you're in a real estate investment, often real estate requires ongoing effort of time that you have to put in to maintain your investments. In some senses, that offers higher rates of return, but that's because there's an ongoing time component to that. If you're running a business, your income is not passive. You're constantly having to check in, make sure the business is running well, make sure you're managing your employees, managing your investments, managing your products. That requires an ongoing time investment. But when you invest in publicly traded markets, publicly traded stocks and bonds, it is truly passive after the purchase process is complete. But before the purchase process is complete, it's not passive. There's thought that has to go into researching a company. There's thought that has to go into valuing the company. And there's thought and time that has to go into making sure that company falls within your area of expertise and that it meets all of your normal investing checklist requirements. So if you're putting in time and you're putting in effort to do research for an investment, to figure out what the value of that investment is, and to really understand the business, and you've done all that, why would you not go and add a little bit more effort to make sure you can actually purchase it once it checks all the boxes? For most people, this is not a problem. You're going to have access to any investment that you want at your normal broker. And this is going to be something that's quite achievable. But for many people, especially those that are buying stocks abroad, stocks that are in foreign countries, it might require going to find another alternative method to purchase this company. It might require finding another broker to complete the deal. And it might require you to get outside of your comfort zone, go do some more research, and instead figure out how you can close the deal on the stock that you would like to purchase. You see, I'm making this podcast today because I've been spending months trying to complete this for myself. I'm trying to buy a foreign security I have spent probably 6 months learning about, doing research, figuring out whether I think it's a good investment, and then also additional time trying to figure out how to actually make it work because my current brokers don't offer the ability to do it. So many investors, especially those outside the United States, are going to experience this sort of problem when they're trying to invest inside the United States. Sometimes your local broker won't offer that capability. Sometimes they will, but sometimes they won't. And when they don't, if you've already found an idea that's worthy of your money, make sure to go the extra mile and actually make the effort to make it happen. Not the company that I'm interested in today, but I know in the past I've looked at a company that is only available on the Bermuda Stock Exchange. Well, my brokers don't offer the ability to purchase on the Bermuda Stock Exchange. So if I had decided that I wanted to buy that company, it would have required some additional effort to open an account in Bermuda to make that investment work. Would that be worth it? Well, if you're really talking about buying a company for the long term, buying an investment that has the ability to improve your overall investment returns to a large degree, it's worth the extra time and it's worth the extra effort to go the extra mile and make that purchase happen. You know, one example for you to remember is if you've not heard the story before, when Warren Buffett was managing his early partnership and he wanted to buy small companies, he sometimes had to go searching for the individual owners and convince them to sell. Can you imagine doing that today? Can you think beyond the privilege that we have in that now you have brokers willing to broker deals for you for almost any company in the world? And all you have to do is find the right broker to do it. It is so much easier these days to make investments than it used to be. It costs so much less money and time to make investments than it used to be, that when it does require a little bit more time and money to make the investment that will help take your portfolio to the next level, you need to consider doing so. Now, many people, when they listen to this, are going to say, that makes sense. I think this makes sense. But a lot of people aren't willing to take that extra step. I know in the past I haven't been. I've learned about some companies that I find really interesting, and I realized that I'm not able to buy them at my current broker, so I just moved on. And there are some times where that can matter. If you have an account, let's say, in a retirement vehicle that is only able to be kept at certain brokers, well, maybe you can't make certain investments within that retirement account. But if you had a taxable account, then you could go and take that taxable account to a new broker to be able to make that investment, or take a portion of that account to the new broker to make that investment. Either way, you need to consider the various methods that you could use to go and purchase the stocks that you want to buy. So, again, the focus of this episode isn't meant to be long. It's simply meant to be a reminder. Great opportunities are rare. Now, opportunities are plentiful, but great opportunities, the opportunities that meet everything on your investment checklist, the opportunities that are safe, the opportunities that are high return, high quality, cheap companies with very good long-term prospects. Those only come around maybe once a year, once every couple years. Now, certainly there will be other investments that are available, but the ones that feel in your wheelhouse. You can't think about the home runs that other people are hitting. You need to focus on the home runs that you can hit. And if that means that you need to go to a different ball field to hit the home run, take the bus, go to the other ball field, and hit your home run. So that's all I have for you today. Short and simple for this week's episode. Focus on going the extra mile when it's necessary. It's not always going to be necessary, and you'll need to judge when it is. But when you find an investment that's worth your time and worth your money, take the last final step to actually invest your money once you've done all the work leading up to it. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. The show notes for today's episode, including my outline for today's podcast, are available at DIYinvesting.org/episode 60. If you'd like to support the show, please consider supporting the show financially as a patron. You can become a patron at DIYinvesting.org/PATRON. If you'd like to support the show non-financially, please leave this podcast a rating and review. Your ratings and review help me to grow the podcast audience, and I would really appreciate your support. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stop paying fees, start building wealth.
Thank you for listening to the DIY Investing Podcast. Please visit our website and subscribe to our email list at DIYinvesting.org for guides, videos, and resources to help make you a better investor.
The DIY Investing Podcast is presented for general informational and entertainment purposes only. I have not considered your specific situation or risk profile, and I have not provided investment advice. The information presented on the DIY Investing Podcast should not be construed as investment advice. The views and opinions expressed on the DIY Investing Podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the show's host or sponsors. DIY Investing, its producers, sponsors, and host, Trey Henniger, shall not be liable for losses resulting from investment decisions based upon information or viewpoints presented on the DIY Investing Podcast.